Hello, this is J.T Halden, Halden Marine Service once again, working on our series of how to repair, how to fix, and understand water makers. And this is a Spectra water maker we're looking at today. One of the questions I get quite often is when these are rebuilt or there's any kind of service required, obviously this comes out of the bracket that it sits in. This is where our membrane is. This is a little 21-inch membrane. As some of you know, the 40-inch membranes are twice as long. You may have 140, 240s, or 3 40-inch membranes depending on your size. But one of the difficult things people find is how do we put this back together? What happens is on the back of our unit, these are our high pressure fittings for our tubes are going to go into the membrane. Well, the issue with these things, these are compound bends. You just can't screw them in. What happens when we put this in, oops, sorry, let me see if I can turn this a little bit so you can see. This will sit just like this into the pump as we set it down. Our problem, I don't know if you can see this, Stacy, this fitting's not too bad to get to, but the bottom fitting, you're not going to get a wrench on there to tighten it down. How do we do that and line that up properly? This is extremely important. A lot of people don't understand this when they're doing it. The first thing we want to look at when the pump comes back is the bottom bracket that sits on this Clark pump. What you will notice right out of the gate, if you look at this, these 4 bolts that hold this bracket on, these holes are closer to the edge than these 2 holes. Okay? It's important to understand that. The 2 holes or 2 bolts that hold this bracket on that are the closest to the edge need to be on the input side of the Clark pump. So basically this is your input, this will be coming from your feed pump. And then you have the 2 output, 90 high pressure fittings. Okay, so how do we get this on there? Well, first of all, you need just a standard Phillips screwdriver, a little bit long one if you need help, a Sharpie, and of course the trusty 2 wrenches. These wrenches are important. If you notice, these are a little bit longer. I would suggest if you don't have them this length, give us a call and we'll get these 2. They're inexpensive. These aren't Snap-on, high quality stuff. Actually, they're fairly cheap. But this length is going to give us really good leverage to tighten these fittings. These are all stainless steel fittings. And make sure every time you do any work on your pump that every one of the fittings, the 2 90s in the back, the fitting on either end of the membrane vessel, and of course on the J2, there's 2 fittings, that they're all stainless steel, no nickel bronze. Okay, if you have anything that looks like bronze in there, give me a call and take it off and replace it with stainless steel. Stainless steel and bronze, dissimilar metals. You got a little battery, you have the problem with corrosion. Any kind of corrosion like that gets in our cylinders and pistons and scores it up, and we lose pressure. Okay, so what we're going to do, first thing you're going to do on this to determine how to put this in, you have the top one has the longer 90 and the short one's the bottom 90. And once we install these fittings, you'll notice one points in one direction, obviously the other one the other direction. The bottom one, closest to this base, it sits on the bottom, is your output. The output must go to wherever the end of the membrane, your brine seal is on the membrane itself. This is a membrane. This would actually, a 21-inch membrane can sit in here. It's cut away so we can see it. But you'll notice it looks like an O-ring. This is not an O-ring. This is your brine seal. Okay, this is the input to the membrane. So if I have the output of my pump is here, this tube has to go to this end of the membrane because this membrane is sitting in here. Then of course the output is the return back into the pump. So we orientate these 2 fittings in that direction. Let's see if you can see. I may turn this at a bit of an angle. Okay. So once again, as you can see, it sits in here just like this, and there's just no room to get any. Even the short wrenches, we just can't get to where I can tighten them down, and they need some leverage. So how do we do this? It's fairly simple, okay? First of all, what we want to remember is you'll see this is already kind of lined up. This one's going off in this direction, and my other fitting is going in the opposite direction. They must line up so we get everything. Spectra Watermaker is one of my favorite membrane vessels in the world. This is the easiest membrane vessel to work with, okay? Because it's so easy. We don't have bolts at the end like you see an old membrane vessel up here. There's clamps and Allen keys and half moon clamps. They're a nightmare. Any of that stuff gets clogged up, it's a pain. On a Spectra membrane vessel, this is the little tightening ring right here that holds the end cap in. If you notice, right, that's tight, that's it. We don't put a wrench on that at all. It's just hand tight. We want to just loosen that about half a turn each one of them, because when I do that, now I can adjust the end cap. It's a little firm, but I can turn it. Okay? And I'll do the same thing here, and that's what's going to be important. Good O-rings, brand new O-rings. Okay. So to start, what we're going to do, I'm just dropping 2 screws. This is the mounting screws. One in kind of a cattywampus, one in front of it, and then go back to the angle, drop the other one in. Okay? And then I start with my lower high pressure tube. That's this one here. We're just going to basically just stick it in and just finger tighten it. Just a little bit. That's enough for right now. And then what I'm going to do with this pointing somewhat in that direction, drop those back into my bracket. 2 screws. Locate my screw hole right there. That's just going to line up our Clark pump. Oh, these are fun to get started. There it is. Line up the Clark pump to the tube to the end membrane vessel. There we go. Okay, so now I'm lined up so I know what to do. So I come to, now I'm sitting like in this angle right here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to join this. Obviously, it's not going to make it. Can you see that, Stacey?
Yep.
It's not going to make it like that. So now I've loosened the ring for the end cap, so I just turn it right down to it. It's a little stiff, but we can get it to do it. And we line this up. We just put a few threads on it for right now that we know we're lined up. Okay? Kind of go back a little bit. One of the things I like to do, this may be hard to see, just Stacey, is if you look down here at an angle, I want that tube to be parallel straight across horizontally. It's kind of hard to see. It can go at a cranky angle. Just make it nice and parallel right here. Once that happens, here's the fun part. Now we're going to say that's lined up, but it's not tight. What do we do? Simple Sharpie. See if I can do this so Stacey can see it. What you're basically going to do, we know this tube is lined up and that's where we want it, so we're just going to take right on the 90-degree fitting up here, right in the middle of it right here. I'm going to place a little mark with the Sharpie. It'll be super accurate. And then of course I'll mark right on the tube itself. So when I take it off, we line those 2 marks up, tighten everything down. Show you real quick. Turn it around. Take the 2 screws out. This one off. Let me set this off to the side. Now, I look for my 2 marks to line up. I don't know if we can see that, Stacey. Yeah. There it is. See my little 2 Sharpie marks right there? Is that easy to see, or my head in the way?
No, you're good.
Okay, so we're going to line that up, obviously. Usually work a little further back. I just want you to be able to see it. This is where the 2 longer wrenches come in. Now, these stainless steel nuts are 7/8. Okay. The other nuts, especially on our straight nuts, this inside nut is not 7/8, but 13/16. It's an odd size, or 20 millimeter. And if you'll notice on this wrench, cheapo wrench, I've ground down the sides. This is a very tight fit. Sometimes with the really good quality tools, Craftsman, Snap-ons, it's too thick and it won't sit in there where I can tighten, put my 7/8 on top of and tighten that stainless steel nut. Okay. And so we'll take our 13/16 and just hold the body of this 90-degree fitting. Remember, we're threading everything into plastic. Okay, it's not cheap plastic, it's machinable grade plastic, but this we want to hold it because this will rip it right out if we're not careful. So we're just going to tighten this down. I got to put just enough where it's firm, and then we'll get a good crank on it. There. All right, so it kind of grabbed a little bit right there, so it's a little firm. I can still turn it and line up my 2 marks best you can. Again, it doesn't have to be super accurate. Get as close as you can get it, because we can't adjust the engine. And then tighten this down. Watch your 2 marks when you do tighten. If the tube doesn't move, and that one did not. And I usually go like that, and now I got good pressure. Like about that. I'm putting a good bit of pressure on there. There's no real torque ratings on this thing, but I would say that's about 40 to 50 torque pounds to tighten that down. Now, bring back our membrane vessel. Okay. Take this carefully, line it back up with the screws. Usually before I put the screws in, I'll go ahead and put the end cap in. You'll see, lines right up. Can you see that? Lines right up. Put a few threads on that first. Come back around. With my screwdriver, there we go. Find our holes again for this mounts tube. There we go. Don't tighten these down to last until we get everything in and tightened. One's in, it's right there. Okay, now it's in. Now we come back here. Our 90's obviously already tight. Now we come back and tighten this fitting down. And this is the critical one once again to get into. 13/16, good long wrench. Be careful when you do this. You can bounce up against the aluminum ring. Just take little bites anytime you tighten these fittings. That should be all it takes. Just make sure you hold this body firm. Now that one's installed. The other one, if you're a single membrane, is just a piece of cake. There we go. Line my hook up here a little bit. Insert this with a couple threads. Basically do the same on this one. You can see it, gotta line it up. I'm just moving around for you guys to see. See it's at an angle. We'll just turn that nice so it's nice and flush, a little more. There she goes, and on she goes. Now we can get to this one easily because there's no membrane involved. When you get into the big 700s and 1000s, we will have a second membrane sitting right here. Process will be basically the same. Just mark this one as just as good. Tighten this up one more time. It should be pouring enough. And you can see there's not a whole lot of room in there. Oops, wrong. Let me try the right direction. Kind of give you an idea. Look, that's enough. Now you've installed the stainless steel tubes. Everything's back together. You shouldn't have any leaks at all if you could do that. My high suggestion is if you don't have the long ones, you only have the short ones. Use the long ones. That little bit of extra length, all the difference in the world to make those things seal up. And there's how you do it.